Got everybody?
Yep.
You're all set now, you good to go? All right, so we will call the order at 5:04 this evening. If we could please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Move right on to item C, which is public comment. Per usual, we will offer public comment in person first. And if we do not have anybody speaking in person, we will turn it over to public comment virtually. If you are interested in providing public comment virtually, please raise your hand. Devin will make sure you're unmuted and then you can provide your comment. Please provide name and address prior to speaking. Based on what I can see, it looks like we do not have any in-person public comment. So we will open it up to virtual comment.
Seeing no hands, we'll give another moment.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll move right on to item D, which is minutes. So could I have a motion to approve the attached April 27th, 2022 minutes?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I gotta remember, sorry, Sarah. I gotta remember to give people a minute. All opposed? All right, we are approved. Item E, which is correspondence received 4/26 through 5/9. We do have one piece of correspondence that was received via our online form that is included in your agenda package. I believe we have already responded and provided an answer on that, but just make sure, please take the time to review that as committee members. But that is all we received for correspondence. I always take the opportunity for those joining us either live or later to remember that you always have an opportunity to correspond with us as a building committee using that web contact form. Please do so. We are always appreciative of questions, comments, or thoughts. And you know, we really are a great source of information. And so please use that contact form. It's way at the bottom of the of our landing page, very easy to fill out. And we'll get a response back to you as quickly as possible. So can't attend a meeting in person, another great way to reach us for questions. All right, we're going to move right into reports. First item is chair report. I do not have anything specific to report this evening, so we have plenty of other things to discuss tonight. So we're going to move right on to item number 2, which is town council liaison.
So two things. The most important one, I'm sure that a lot of you have probably heard by now, but yesterday we actually got it in writing from Mike DeMico at the council meeting that our reimbursement rate, this implementer bill, went from 18.9% to 30%, which is a 14 million plus minus a swing, which is huge and unheard of. I'm sure you guys can agree to that. So that was due to town staff, Kathy and CJ, and their testimony at the education committee, and their follow-up with our legislators and our concerns. So the issue of the 900 wing and then some have gone away. So that's really good news. That being said, I will just ask the communications committee to be very clear, because the first question I got is, do we get to put all that stuff back in? And just to be very clear that that doesn't change the scope of the project or the overall number, that just changes the net that we have at the end. So no, it doesn't give us a green light to go spend 10 or $14 million more. So that will be a question coming up, and maybe we preemptively can put something on the website that explains that process again and how that's going to affect the numbers. The second thing is the 1928 committee was formed yesterday. So they'll be getting rolling. There's no, obviously they just got put together yesterday, so I'll have more information as we go along.
And there is, just to add, there is a liaison from this committee on
Correct.
that committee. So we think that'll be a good
Yes.
gap in between.
So Yeah,
Mr.
so
Mr.
the
Fagan will be
liaison
our
for
representative.
here is Chris, and then from the town council will be Joe Cavanafarrow. The chair is Peter Mash-Batista, Mike Walsh, and Jack Kemper will be on there. Gene Barron and Dan Kleiman.
Yep.
So it's a really good group with a pretty diverse backgrounds and expertise in what we're doing. So we're pretty excited about that group.
Yeah, to your point, just so you know, Johnny, we probably highlight a little bit more in the vacation subcommittee, but we did actually have a conversation today about how to highlight and make sure people understand the process around reimbursement, what it means, those kind of things, and you will see an update newsletter as well that will speak very high level to that. So I think that is valid questions. But I think as a building committee, we thank the town for all its efforts. We thank our legislators for all the work and effort that has gone into that. I think it's just a win for the town overall. So it's pretty amazing that we were concerned, obviously, and a bit frustrated by that $915 million possible deficit. And here we are on the other side of that. Fortunately, even in better shape than that. So I think we can also say that we appreciate that effort.
That's it for me.
Any questions for Johnny or further clarification? So more to come, as we mentioned. So what you will see once the 1928 Building Committee gets up and running, we will actually add that as one of our committee report outs. So Chris will take on that role to bring back any kind of updates or vouchers to communication there. So I think that will work well for us as we move through the process. Good. All right, we will move on to, I'm just going to keep on a big list. Board of Education Liaison Report, Sarah.
Hi, sorry, I don't have anything to report tonight.
Yeah, this is kind of our standing placeholders in case there was any vacation or anything else. So we appreciate that, Sarah. We'll move right on to owner's rep report.
So congratulations. I think that's very exciting news, and against some very difficult odds. And so congratulations to you for all the work and effort that you've all put in to accomplish that. The couple things on our list. Contracts, we've sent out contracts to Joe Versteeg and for code compliance review, and the Russell Dawson group for structural peer review. We are scheduling kickoff meetings with them in either the end of this week or the beginning of next week to onboard them and move forward with those two processes. I steal your thunder a little bit, Kat. The O&G contract is finalized, so that work is done. We're excited to put that one to rest. Next steps with them will really be to finalize the GMP. Once all our bids are in, we are going to have, and you've heard Laurel report out that we'll have a mini GMP for the enabling phase. And so we've still got some work to do contractually on that end, but the hard part, I think, is over. I'd like to also just thank O&G and Kat and everybody for their efforts. It's a big contract to negotiate. So I think there was a lot of work to come to terms and agreements. So thank you all for that. We are scheduling, are going to keep our scheduled working group for next week. And on that agenda, we'll discuss items like the grand list of alternates, which we've been tasked to put together. A history of all the alternates. We'll review that in that working group meeting and identify any items that may be in question, or we're going to just identify how we've included everything and where they fall into that budget process that we followed over the last several months. We're also going to review alternate number 9, which is going to be on the list that we'll share a little bit later, and TSKP's design fee proposal for that work that's associated with alternate number 9. We'll review any schedule impacts and potentially look at some interior renderings if possible. So those are kind of the big ticket items that we've got on the work group. I think we're also going to look at some locations or discuss some of the equipment for some of these other athletic items that we want to make sure we capture everything. So we might look at those too. And that's all I had from owner's rep.
Questions or follow-up from Laura? So why don't we go right on to architect report?
Yes, thank you. Again, congratulations on this increase in your reimbursement rate. Well done. We are continuing to finish up the construction documents. Still are documenting the add alternates and the VE items. I know that's later in your agenda for discussion. But our goal is to hit the targets that we've been given the pricing set for ONG, which is at the end of this month, May 24th or 25th. And that meeting with the PCR with the state in June 29th. So coordinating all of the alternates is quite a task, and it's not just our work, but it's all of our sub-consultants' work as well. I did prepare a brief PowerPoint presentation to give you an example of the kinds of things that we are doing in the plans. The description of the alternates is more than just words, because we need to show the extent of these variables in the documents. So I'm going to do that very briefly with Devin's help. And I'll call your attention to the screen here. We know what the current list is. You're going to be discussing that list a little bit later in the presentation. Next page. This item, which is eliminate the moisture barrier vapor reducing admixture, that's strictly a specification item. We didn't want to put that in the PowerPoint. It's just text. Next. So this is for changing the roof back from TPO to EPDM. This is a roof plan of the high school portion. I mean, that's full of information here, but the documents also have enlargements. They have details on things like curbing and roof edging, and that in addition to that, the specifications will be changed as well. Next. This has to do with eliminating the guardrail. This was a value engineering item. I think that this was an error or flaw in the documents. This is an unnecessary guardrail along the back wall of the stairs that's being eliminated. Again, wherever it appears in the drawings. Next is reduce the skylights. This is the value engineering item. This says reduced by 20%. We haven't been able to achieve that. And so the skylights are located in a couple of locations. The two diagrams on the left are cross sections through the atrium space. So you can see that they're highlighted in yellow, that skylight location. So that will be reduced a little bit. And then the other location is the sawtooth skylight that's over the cafeteria. And again, the slope that faces north, that area of glazing will be reduced. And as well as all the details that are associated with that. Next. There was a value engineering item to eliminate round skylights at the gym. They appear on the roof. They also appear on the reflected ceiling plan, as well as the roofing details. So that's being corrected. Next. Okay, this is a item on the exterior of the building, and these are just fragments of exterior elevations. And when we make a change here, we'll also make a change on the interior elevations, showing where the cabinetry is, where the all the features of the building on the walls are. So we have before and after. So those three elevations you see in the before column, these are fragments in the classroom wing. And then the difference, if you look at the after column, same segment of classroom wing, showing the reduction. That's how we reduce the exterior glazing. Then we have also another portion of the building before and after, the upper elevation and the lower, again, upper and lower elevation. And that has to be added. Next. And then we were asked to reduce the overall interior glass area. We have been proceeding with that. Again, before is on the left side, after is on the right. You can see we've highlighted in yellow where we were. and where we are and where we're headed on the right side. Next. Delete the wall tile where we have CMU, concrete masonry units. There's no point in having both. You can certainly achieve durable finish by using CMU with an epoxy paint. And so on the upper fragment elevations, you can see we actually have elevations of every bathroom, so people know where to install fixtures and fittings and all kinds of other devices in the bathrooms. The upper elevations show wall tile of CMU masonry. The lower portion shows just CMU paint. Next. We have to illustrate both so that we get a base price and then we get an alternate. This area, which is a fragment of ceiling plans. On the left is the before. This is in the art wing where we had hoped to create some different kind of ceiling. And we have like vertical acoustic baffles in the ceiling, but you can actually see between the baffles up to the ceiling cavity up above. It just makes it more and more interesting. After all, this is the art wing with art classrooms. We wanted to give it more of a loft kind of feeling. And the value engineering item is to go to a conventional ceiling, which is illustrated on the right. This is a typical classroom ceiling tile. But this has an effect on other trades, has an effect on sprinklers, on ductwork, on light fixtures. So all of that is carried in all the drawings that are associated with this value engineering item. Next is spray fireproofing. That's a simple matter in the specifications to clarify. Only the exposed steel will have spray fireproofing. I'm sorry, will have intimate paint rather than spray fireproofing. We have a portion of the 900 wing. That's a value engineering item. There is a line. See where those arrows are? Yes. So if you follow that vertical line going all the way up, there's another line there. So everything to the left of that line is where we have the locker areas, and that involves eliminating air conditioning from that area as well as salvaging or keeping as many ceilings as we can. Next. This is still in sketch form. Actually, when we did this PowerPoint, it was in sketch form. It has since moved forward. This is something that our landscape architect is refining right now. This is the item to eliminate pavers and go to concrete. That was a cost-saving item. On the left was the pattern that we had envisioned with pavers. That's being eliminated. We're just going to have conventional concrete, as you see on the right. Next. This is overall concrete sidewalks. This is still in process. And I don't believe this is an item that we've identified a cost for yet. It's a placeholder in your spreadsheet, OG spreadsheet. As soon as we get the actual percentage of reduction in pavement, we'll be able to then ask OG to react to it. But that's in process with Richter and Segan as well. Next. Again, it's a similar thing, change concrete block to bituminous. Next. Oh, and this is add ball field and all the associated other improvements, drainage, earthwork, irrigation, etc., in lieu of a grassy field. Next. So one of the alternates that we are identifying, this is alternate number 1, to eliminate one horizontal sunshade on the exterior of the building. We're indicating exactly where those sunshades are. It's the second one. If you look at the elevation, you can see we added notes. Devin, you can see where we have those yellow tags. So those point to the second sunshade on the elevation. Those are the ones that would be added if the budget permits. Next. Looks like there's a lot of gobbledygook here, but it's just a fragment of the finish schedule. The finish schedule is the part of the plans that has each and every room listed and an indication of what's on the floor, what's on the ceiling, what's on the walls. So you see there are codes associated with that. This particular item is Room 100, it happens to be the main concourse. The floor finish listed here is linoleum tile. And then we have wall finish, gypsum wallboard with wall covering. And then on the right, under comments, you see, this is where we have several alternates that need to be identified in the finish schedule. Alternate number 2, which is porcelain tile in lieu of linoleum tile on the floor. Alternate 3, wood ceiling in lieu of acoustic tile. Alternate 5, ground face concrete in lieu of gypsum board partition. So that's how we're handling these kinds of changes. Next. Wood ceiling, we need to show the extent of the wood ceiling. So the ceiling plan, there'll be 2 ceiling plans, one with the wood in the atrium space, as well as the west vestibule coming into the commons area. And on the right, there's a diagram that will illustrate the acoustic tile in those areas instead of wood ceiling. Next. Here, some people asked, well, what are we talking about when we said add gypsum wallboard soffits in the stairwells under stairs and landings? What's the difference? So on the before, we have just exposed. If you could point to exposed stringers underneath, those would just be painted. You've often seen the stairwells, egress stairs in particular. When you look up the stairs from below, or the run below, you see the actual framework of the steel stairs. That would be painted in the base plan. The alternate number 4 has drywall covering all of that, not only on the stair stringers, but the stair landings as well. It makes for a brighter stairwell.
I mean, I think we have an example right.
There you go. It just makes for an evener look. It makes actually for a brighter stairwell. Again, if budget permits. Next. This one is difficult to read, but what I want to ask Devin to point out, actually. So these are the corridor walls that, for instance, in this case, separate the lab area from the adjacent atrium space. That wall has a tag. That tag indicates it's a certain type of partition. Here we have ground face view. It has a different tag. The wall is crocheted with a different code that indicates CMU. So this has to be carried throughout wherever we have this alternate, so that the people who are doing the takeoffs, they know how to quantify the extent of this CMU versus using wall. Next. And we also have interior wall elevations to show the coursing of the CMU, because we really want to make sure that the coursing is captured in the bidding. If, in fact, this is affordable and the committee chooses to buy this alternate, we want to have this plan already in place. We don't want to have any discussions later with the mason about what the coursing should be. This is already established in the documents. So that would be the alternate. Next. Operable windows. There is a indication where we have operable windows on the exterior wall elevation. This is at alternate 6. And basically every classroom, every office, every space that is on the perimeter of the building would have an operable window. Next. Here's the relocated ball field or ball field in lieu of a grassy field. I have already seen, but it was after this PowerPoint was prepared, the base grassy field plan that was prepared by Richter and Segan, along with the drainage and everything else that's required. And it eliminates all of that regrading of the slope. So the base price will be keeping the slope as it is, installing a grassy field. And this is my last slide. So this is to define what we mean by alternate number 8. This is the only deduction alternate. All the alternates have been adds that we've been talking about so far. This one is to deduct the cost of abatement and demolition of what we're calling Area G. Area G captures the existing gymnasium. You can tell by the basketball court designation where the gyms are, with the locker areas in between. You can see the auditorium space over there. That's the existing auditorium. And the 1928 building is here. So deduct alternate number 8 is to not demolish or abate all of this area that we've outlined. And so that appears on the demolition plans as well as the abatement plans. And I guess there will be discussion about what alternate 9 may be. We were asked to illustrate where 8 tennis courts could go in a different location, should that be desired. So what we did is this diagram that shows 8 tennis courts just to the north of that footprint that we're talking about. But that's subject to discussion. So that kind of gives you a sampling. This is a sampler of all of the documents, but we want to make sure that we clearly define, so there's no confusion by the bidders, the extent of each of the alternates. That's what we can do. That's all I want to present.
Thoughts, questions? So a lot of that the number should have sounded familiar to people, line items from our last meeting. And some of that detailed conversation we had now became a little more visual for us, I think, there, which is helpful. And will be part of our conversation as we move into our business item as well. But I think it's kind of a good understanding of some of the impacts and some of the things in there.
I'll just make a brief comment.
Yeah.
This is probably the busiest period in a project for the design team. And not only are they completing their documents, but they're working the entire team to accommodate the budget issues, the schedule issues. And I just want to thank Richard and his team for doing it proactively. I mean, I know there's a lot of work going on. Some of the slides, I think it really gives people a picture of what you're doing. This is just the extra work you're doing, but on top of getting the documents ready. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, certainly in any meeting, it's frustrating that that's visual, is helpful for us. But yeah, no, I think it's good for us to put that all in perspective, understand the environment we're all in and what that means and the impacts. Any other questions or thoughts, point of clarification? All right, thank you very much. So keep that in mind as we will move into new business, but let's for now go on to the construction manager report.
Okay, so I have an update. Last time we met, we had just run out the bid, so we are still out the bid for phase 1. Our bids remain due next Tuesday, May 17th. We held a pre-bid meeting on May 3rd. We had 5 bidders attend the pre-bid meeting. It was non-mandatory, so not everybody had to actually attend, but that was a decent turnout. I issued addendum 1 this afternoon without changing the bid due date. If people are interested in attending, it's a virtual bid opening, it's public. The link is right on, the link to the virtual meeting is right on the front page of the addendum. So if anybody wants to take a look at that and attend that meeting, they're more than welcome. The other thing is for updates, let's see, professional engineer review, they completed their review, provided comments. I believe the design team was able to incorporate some of their suggestions in this first addendum number 1. Just to go over the up and coming meetings that we're talking about. So when the bids do come in, right now it's the 17th, we'll be scoping. And then I'm gonna focus my efforts on preparing what's called a GMP, guaranteed maximum price to the contract. My goal is to have that done for the working group to be looking at starting June 1st, at their June 1st working group meeting. I don't know how much in advance I'll be able to get it done before June 1st, but the idea is for the working group to start looking at it on June 1st, and then your regular meeting, I believe, is the 8th, and we're gonna need a special meeting on the 15th, I foresee, to get this GMP approved. Our schedule is based on giving a limited notice to proceed to this first contract on June 16th. So heads up that we may need a special meeting on the 15th, so that we don't get it on the 8th. Also, we're coming to the next round of state approval, so another heads up, 6-week heads up that towards the end of June. We're going up to the state, so back it up, needs the meeting, building committee, board of ed, with the documents, so just bear that in mind as we're heading into summer, it's taking long. We want to make sure that doesn't get jeopardized at all. And we still have a start date on site of July 11th. I heard there may be a July 14th special concert, so we'll work around that if we have to, but we still plan on starting work on site, even if it's just up above on top of the hill. I believe that was it for updates as far as look ahead to where we are with schedule. Just wanted to give you the heads up that we have these approvals coming up, and it's going to be critical to move quickly on this GMP. That's about it. And then Mark's going to talk about this.
Want to do that in our new business?
Yeah.
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 Laura, when do you need to know about that you need to add?
Well, I just assume you're gonna need it based on the history. How long it takes you guys to show up, so. I just think if you want to act on it on the 8th, that's great, but, you know. if
Well, I'm
the
just saying,
working
we
group's
might
not
need to
seeing
be
it
able
until
to,
first.
maybe we can just do a quick vote tonight and get it on the calendar
Mhm.
for us, and then it's easier
And
to
then
take it off.
you can always cancel
Right,
it, yeah,
exactly.
because that really only gives you 2 weeks to get through it, between the working group.
Yeah, I'd rather do that. We'll add that as a separate function.
And again, while you're looking at the June calendar, look towards the end there, see how you line up the board of ed and you guys. You know, whatever PCR meeting is set, just be on point, because we're heading towards 4th of July, you know, holiday, summer's upon us, so.
So I have a question, whether it would be the working group or the professional partnership committee that would review the GMP.
Professional partnership typically reviews contracts. Would it be more of a contract or?
So it's really the guaranteed maximum price piece of their contract.
Oh, so the working group wouldn't see it, it would be done for
It's an
that.
addendum to it.
It would be
To the
addendum to their
contract?
contract, yeah.
Then it'd probably be professional.
Addendum 1 will be phase 1, addendum 2 will be phase 2.
Maybe that's the starting place, but I don't think I'm opposed to the working group looking at it also, but maybe having the professional partnership vet it first.
Yeah, it would just,
It's the same.
there's no design.
It's basically
It's
the
just
same people involved.
It's Meg and I and Michael.
And Michael, yeah.
true.
It's the same exact group.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't
So-
think we would need the entire working group
Yeah.
to be a part of the GMP
Yeah.
negotiation.
But we can use this already scheduled working group time for that
That's true.
professional partnership instead.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be that difficult of a contract, you know, it's not gonna be that difficult, it's a baby one, it's a little
Sure.
tiny.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's just
one
a practice,
trade
one practice,
contract,
of course.
you know, So give you an idea of what to see.
Yeah, but you're right, Johnny, it is the same.
So make sure we're on the right one.
Just to Laurel's point, why don't we just address 6:15 today?
Yeah.
Get that, at least get that one on the calendar, and talk about timing out for the rest. Just to make sure, because I'd rather have, it's tough now, but like you said, going into the summer months, but I also don't want to get it to a point that's pretty critical for us. That we can decisions made when we need to, so. I think that will work. Is that all right, Laurel? That works, of course, at least we'll get that one on. Okay. Any other questions for Laurel on schedule, timing? That's outstanding. All right, thank you very much. All right, we're gonna go into communications subcommittee report. Take that one. Yeah, go for it.
The communication subcommittee met right before this meeting. We reviewed the newsletter that's being sent out in the next couple of weeks. That would give just a general update. We have a refined Q&A section about early enabling, the reimbursement rate increase, a lot of things that we've been hearing lately. So that'll be right in the newsletter, and we'll update our website at the same time. We're also advertising for a June 2nd kind of community meeting. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Location TBD. But that will do kind of a presentation as to where we are, probably a little bit more heavy on the early enabling, which is happening sooner, and then opening it up for a Q&A session from the community. We also think that's good timing because it's almost a year to the day since the referendum passed. So it's kind of like a year update before we move into the construction phase. So again, that's going to be June 2nd at 6, location to be announced once we secure somewhere. Other than that, we've been talking about how we can further refine website updates. We did update it based, I think we talked about this last time, that cost page. We added a narrative about the VE process and alternate process and how we've had multiple cost estimates throughout the design process. We are adding an updated budget as soon as we kind of hopefully get approval of that tonight, which will also reflect that 30% reimbursement rate. So it's the most up-to-date budget for the community to see where we are, what, construction costs here, professional costs and FF&E and all of those. So it's like what we presented prior to referendum, but a more updated version reflective of the current market. So I think that's really it.
I think so. Again, just building, all of us here should make sure that June 2nd date goes on as a whole on the calendar, as much representation as we can get there. I think that's important, especially in the community. It is going to be hybrid, but if we can do in person, please do so. Try to make that happen, because I think this is it's such a big stretch of not being able to engage face to face with community members. I think that's a great opportunity for us to do that. So please make sure that gets added. You might have said this and I missed it. So the newsletter is going out the week of the 23rd. Yeah,
I said a couple of years, but that's
that's where we are right now. That's the actual week that so again, that will mention the June 2nd meeting, plus any other things, but kind of keep that in mind. We're still working on groundbreaking for October timeframe, so you'll see us reach out for more information on building that subcommittee that we talked about around groundbreaking. So we'll work to get more information on that as well. Any thoughts, questions, comments on communication? All right. Do we have anything for professional partnership? Except that there will be an upcoming invite going out for some review, it sounds like, based on the conversation. So that just leaves us with the financial report.
And the financial report, the only update I believe included in your agenda packet is that invoice tracking document with the invoices that are to be approved on tonight's agenda.
Questions on that before we start the invoice approval? All right, so we will move right into a new business. So item G1, if I could get a motion to accept the invoice package as stated on our agenda.
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Better that time. I don't want to rush you, Sarah. All opposed? All right, we are approved. All right, so we're going to move right into item G2. So to start that discussion, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the updated profit estimate and approve the updated fee list and alternate list as presented.
Motion. Second.
All right, I'm going to open it up for discussion, and we are going to certainly have a discussion here, but there is a note in the agenda packet. I'm just going to kind of read that for us just to level set, make sure we understand where we left off last time, and then we'll kind of open that up for more detailed discussion, more Mark will actually walk us through the estimate. So the BE list and alternate list were developed by the professional partners and approved by the working group for the April 27, 2022 meetings. Item G104, which was reduce concrete sidewalk area by 20%, and G105, change concrete walk to bituminous by 50%, were removed from the BE list. And item 6, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, size and number of lockers was removed from the DQ list and alternate list. New item B105, which is reduced overall exterior wall glass by 20%, was also removed from the DQ list. Detached B list, alternate list, and cost estimate reflect these changes and represent up-to-date cost estimate. So that's kind of where we left off, if you remember.
B105 was added.
Added, I think so too, as I was reading it, I think that was the change. So it's the
Exterior.
reduce the wall with the glass, right?
Exterior glass. Yeah.
So the items we voted on last time were to take them out. And in this new update, the 20% reduction of exterior wall glass was put in. Just to clarify.
So that's where we level set left off. So now I'll turn it over. Mark, you want to start with estimate first?
Sure. So basically what we did, we took the information that we kind of pulled together from the last meeting, which reflected the items that were accepted by the building committee. As Meg just mentioned, we took out the 2 concrete sidewalk items and the locker issue. And then we added back in the credit basically for, or deduct alternate for the 20% of the exterior glass we spoke to. So basically the cover sheet of the estimate, summary sheet page here, includes the revised DE item, row 4, is the DE items. That number now reflects all of those adjustments we made to the DE list. So as we scroll down to the bottom of the estimate now, it actually puts us roughly $361,000 under budget. And really the big change here was the reduction in the exterior glazing by 20%. That value in itself was $373,188. So again, plug that into the estimate sheet, it reduces the overall project cost, construction cost by that value. So currently we're $361,000 under the budget amount of construction.
We got the document in front of them, right, included in the packet. So it's B105, the only one that got added. That's the 20%, and that's what Richard actually showed us a representation of, which was kind of a nice visualization. And then what we talked about is that G104, G105 is still TBD, so we still don't have any costs associated to that. So they're just kind of pending.
Then if we just scroll to the next page.
Yeah, you go to the BE list.
The DE list.
Right there, they're yellow.
So the 2 items that highlighted in yellow are the ones we actually took off the DE list. Those are still meetings that have to be held with the town to kind of define that scope. I think in this case, what we'll probably end up doing is that those revisions will be included in the next estimate. But we will come to the committee with, give you at least a ballpark what those numbers were. But we will include those as part of the overall final CD estimate that we put there. And then the other item, like I mentioned, was the use of the overall exterior wall glazing. That's item B105. And that's reflected again in that overall estimate.
And then there was just an item 6 for the reduction of the lockers.
Yeah,
To
we
go
actually
from,
off the list.
essentially go from half size to quarter size, or to eliminate the actual number of lockers. And so that item moved to the rejected column and therefore not on the BE.
That track from our last conversation makes sense to everybody based on, and then also what we saw earlier from Richard makes sense to everybody.
Yep.
Just the last sheet is the alternates. So these are the alternate lists that we reviewed last time. We made some minor language changes to reflect a better description or a more comprehensive description of each of these items. So we did tweak a word or two, but they are in fact the same items that were reviewed and approved at the last meeting. There are two items here, items number 8 and number 9. You heard Richard speak to already, and that is the demolition of the abatement of area G, and then the install of new tennis courts in a different location. Those are to be determined, still an exploration. Those will be addressed and reviewed with the working group prior to coming to the building committee.
And as Mark mentioned earlier too, if you remember, we talked about that kind of, that larger evaluation of all other alternates, making sure that we're doing all our reconciliation there. So that's in process. That's, we know, it takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. So it takes a little time to make sure that happens, but that will come back to us as part of our conversation, just to make sure that we've gone through this multiple times, making sure it all tracks back to what we remember and understand. So I think we still have that piece, we know that's in the works, and I think that'll help kind of fill out the entire picture, but this is where we stand
As of today.
as of today. That's helpful for everybody. So again, should look with just more clarification, should look like our conversation last time. Any thoughts, questions? Again, this can relate to this, it can relate to even now thinking back to what Richard showed us in his presentation. Anything there that anybody wants any further clarification or discussion on before we actually vote on the motion? That's on the table as well. Everybody good online?
Yes.
All right, so that closes the discussion. I will ask for all in favor.
Aye.
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 All opposed? All right, so we have approved. So as Kat mentioned, this will help us as far as communication as well. We wanted to make sure we got through this process to fill in some of the gaps in our communication, make sure that financial information is correct. And is correct in our newsletter moving forward on the website. This was kind of that piece as well as some additional information that our professional partners needed as well. So makes sense to everybody? All right. Excellent. So the only other thing we have now left is our final motion that we discussed, which should be an easy one, I hope. So if I can get a motion to schedule a special, is that considered special?
Technically, it's more than 30 days, so it's not going to be a special. It's not regular.
Okay, all right. So if a motion to schedule a building committee meeting on June 15th.
Motion, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we will go ahead and add that to the calendar. Again, Laurel's mention of, I think we got to take a broader look in the summer now. We'll try to get as much information to you as quickly as possible. We know it's tough now. We're moving into hopefully vacation time for people. If you get some time with your families and to take off and do something fun, but we'll try to get that straightened out and figured out as we move through the summer. To try to maintain the timeline, but also do some flexibility as well.
That meeting, yes. Yeah, our normal meeting.
Are you any other thoughts, comments, anything else? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we will adjourn at 5:03.